Hello everyone and welcome to my bar. My name is Ansel Birch, the Indecisionist, and I will be your dungeon barkeep today. Now, I am no expert mixologist, but like anyone tending bar in a cave, I have an adventurous spirit and a willingness to try anything once. Now, I don't have a bar list or a menu for you to pick from, but I tell you what, I do have a set of gaming dice, and I will go ahead and roll those dice to choose the ingredients to go into a cocktail. I'll try it first, and if it's any good, I'll recommend it to you. How's that sound? Fair? Great. Well, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I need to do is roll a d4. So we're going to go ahead and roll that d4 to choose an essential mixer. So here we go. And that came up with 2. All right, so 2 on this list is grenadine. Grenadine's always a good ingredient. Gotta love a good grenadine cocktail. That pomegranate syrup really, it packs a lot of punch and brings a lot to the party. So I, for one, love me some grenadine. That's why I put it on my essentials list. Next up, we're gonna choose a garnish, and that's gonna be with a d6. And that'll be a 5. 5 on here is a sugar rim, so we're gonna go ahead and sugar the rim of our glass. That's always exciting. What a good time that always is. So we'll probably end up putting a little bit of citrus in there as well. That's this is shaping up nicely. But what kind of mixer should we put into this cocktail? Well, let's choose that with a D8. There are more of those to choose from. We got 8, so simple syrup. This is going to be very, very, very sweet. whatever else happens. So far we've got sugar water and flavored sugar water, so pray for my pancreas, I guess. Next up, we're going to choose a liquor to be the star of today's cocktail. That's chosen with a D10. We got a 6, tequila! All right, we may have something now. So let's see how far we can go with that. Tequila, simple syrup, and grenadine. That I am excited to put this together now. All right, I'm on board. And just to prove to you that I do have some idea what I'm doing, let's throw me a little pop quiz here and see if I can recite for you or identify for you one of the bar terms on this list. I've got a D12 here, and that's gonna be a 1. So 1 on that D12 is chaser. Chaser is frequently when you serve with your main drink a secondary drink, either so sometimes it's a shot with a chaser of beer, sometimes it's a cocktail with a chaser of a shot. I guess it could be beer with a shot chaser. I don't think I've ever seen that, but I suppose that makes sense. But basically, a chaser is like a pairing. You're offsetting the long-term flavor of whatever the main beverage is with a secondary beverage that is designed to accentuate those flavors or improve on the experience. So who knows? Maybe we'll make a little chaser to go with today's cocktail. The last thing we need to choose here is the name for today's cocktail, and that's going to be chosen from this chart. I get my names from suggestions online. Folks just like you can go to my website at indecisionist.com/dungeonbarkeep to fill out the form and add your suggestions. And I also occasionally will solicit suggestions on my social media pages. So check out Indecisionist at Indecisionist or at The Indecisionist on Instagram. To keep up to date with all of that. But these names, these 20, are the ones chosen for now. And let's see what the D20 decides from them. A 17. So Goblin Guzzle. All right. Goblins clearly like to roll hard with their tequila. So let's go ahead to the bar top cam and put together a Goblin Guzzle. All right, we're going to build this one in the shaker, and I'm going to add a few D6 of cold damage. And these are, in fact, D6s with, well, you can't really see it on the camera. There are, yeah, there we go. There are, in fact, numbers embossed into these dice. I'm very pleased to have been gifted some dice molds or ice molds, I should say. So I've got actually dice for all 7 die types. Very exciting. That'll be fun to use as we continue on with the show. First off, though, we're going to go ahead and add to this ice our tequila. Now we're doing grenadine, which is a pretty hefty flavor, and we're adding simple syrup, but there's not a lot to thin all of that out. So I'm tempted to go a little easy on the tequila, and I think I'm going to go with 1.5 ounces instead of 2 ounces. And I may make an executive decision to add a little bit of seltzer to this after we have given it a shake. So 1.5 ounces of tequila over our ice. We're going to go ahead and do 1/2 ounce of grenadine. What I'm using here is actually pomegranate syrup, which is a little bit less sugary and a little bit more I don't know, pomegranate tasting than grenadine tends to be. And we'll do 1/2 ounce of simple syrup because the recipe calls for it, but I think it's already going to be too sweet as is. So, gosh, if you could smell this. Okay, so we've got our sugar and tequila here. We'll go ahead and set this aside for a moment. And now we're going to prep our glass. I've got a beautiful lemon here. Get some of the juices flowing in there. Quilting Dancer, who is watching along in the live chat during our cocktail-a-thon, says, "Train me in the ways of the shaker. We found some nice ones that are actually jars with a shaker lid, and they're a little smaller but nice." Oh! That's great. I've actually seen some of those, and they look really fun. As long as you get a good tight seal when you put them together, that should do just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and use this piece so that I can save that lemon for later. All right, so we've got our glass here. I'm just going to run the lemon around the outside rim. And that's going to provide us with the moisture to pick up the sugar that we're about to use. So we'll set that aside. And I'll lay out some rimming sugar here. Now, hypothetically, this is citrus flavored, but frankly, I have not been able to detect any flavor on this aside from sugar. So really, we're just adding sugar to our sugar and sugar with tequila. So if you like sweet tequilas, then man, is this going to be your drink. All right. All right. So there we have our sugared glass. You can do the same technique with salt and spices. In fact, I am planning in the near future to do a special cocktail that is rimmed with toasted allspice. I'm really excited to try that out. That one's the Maelstrom from the Campaign Skyjacks podcast. Good friends and a great show. Stay tuned for that. All right, so here's the most important part. You want to build in the small tin, pour into the large tin. Now, you can put the ice in the large tin and put your liquid into the small tin and then transfer over. That's a good way to do that. I've obviously put the ice into the small tin this time. I don't think it makes a huge difference one way or t'other, but here we are. There we go. Now this is doing two things. It's diluting the mixture with water from the ice, and it's chilling the entire mixture down. Those are the two main things that we're looking for in our cocktail shaking process. It's also aerating the drink, which in some instances will add froth or foam and create like a nice luxuriant effect. I don't expect a whole lot of that in this case. Grenadine doesn't tend to foam up. Citrus fruit is a great thing to watch for. If you've got citrus fruit in your cocktail, that's a good indicator that you should shake this cocktail, in my experience. All right, so let's go ahead and pour this out. Well, it's pretty. Once again, my green rimming sugar has turned the edge of the glass into an invisibility potion, so that's an interesting experience. There we go. What if I'm way over here? There we go. All right, it's got a beautiful, I'll actually switch to the bar top cam so you can see it. It's got this beautiful appearance to the top, this like light thin foam, this skim of bubbles. That's nice. I like that. It's pretty. All right. So oh, that's so interesting. So one of the reasons that you rim a glass is because the sugar is going to be on your lips and tongue as you're drinking the beverage, right? So as you're bringing the drink into your mouth, that sweetness is affecting your taste buds, and it really it does two things in my theory. One is to just sort of like punch you with that sweetness and overpower your taste buds. Now your taste buds are pretty basic equipment, right? You can taste five main senses or five main tastes with your tongue. The remainder of flavor comes from your nose, and so by overwhelming your tongue with sugar, I think it allows your nasal passages and what is in front of your nose, because the glass is presenting the majority of the surface area of this drink to your nose. So as you're drinking, you're getting that there as well. I think what it's doing is causing those scent molecules to really get an opportunity to really hit your nose and hit your palate and be more informative. The interesting thing about this is that the tequila hits you on the smell. The sugar is on your tongue, and then as you sort of process all of that, it evolves, and that's when the grenadine sort of starts to develop and bring in that juicy, sweet fruitiness. It's I wouldn't say a complex drink. It's definitely not a subtle drink, but it is. It's not without its merit. It's way too sweet. I'll say that off the bat. There's no question around it. It's just too sweet for me. I would not want to drink even a whole one of these, let alone go back for more. But if you like sweet drinks, and I know some of you do, this is actually much better than I thought it was going to be. It's got it's got some legs to stand on. It progresses nicely. If you like tequila, it gives you that scent of tequila at the front without um, continuing to batter your senses with that as follow up. So, you know, if you're doing like tequila shots, there's that whole lime and salt tradition that people go through. You definitely don't have any need for anything like that. There's no burn, no continuation of the tequila experience that you need to offset. All right, so we've got our main cocktail, but we rolled a chaser today, and I think that this needs something to answer it that offsets some of the sweetness of this cocktail. Something that when you're done with this is going to help bring you down a little bit. And for my money, that is coffee. For my money, I want coffee liqueur. Well, I want coffee. Now, we're making a cocktail, and frankly, I didn't brew coffee ahead of time for today's show, so what I have on hand is coffee liqueur. I currently have this Mr. Black coffee liqueur, which is vodka-based, so it's a little less sweet than the coffee liqueur that you may have in your drinks cabinet. So what I think I'm going to do as our chaser to the Goblin Guzzle is make something with this coffee liqueur. And my inclination to keep that sort of dryness going is to, and follow me here, because this, I don't know that I've ever seen this, but I think it'll really work. I want to make a coffee spritzer. I think that the dry qualities of club soda are really gonna help to add into that tastiness. So let's go ahead and put that together. We'll go back to the bar top cam and make that happen. We're gonna chase with a shot today. All right, so we're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of our coffee liqueur. Now I'm working with 2-ounce shot glasses, so that's why we're working in slightly larger quantities. And I think I want just a sploosh. Quilting Dancer asks if we shouldn't have a chaser of fizzy beef, and I don't think anyone wants a chaser of fizzy beef. All right, so we're going to do a little sploosh of bitters. There we go. And top with club soda. So let's try that. All right, fizzy coffee is weird, but I don't hate it. I think the bitters are helping to offset some of the sweetness that is there in the coffee liqueur. It's a liqueur, so it is going to be sweet by nature. So just a little bit of bitters and again, the dryness of the club soda, I think is really helping to bring that down a little bit. Yeah, it's got a like shot of espresso quality to it. Yeah. All right. So we've got our Goblin Guzzle. What should we call our chaser? I think that this is perfect as the pairing to the Goblin Guzzle, the Goblin Gargle, which was number 15 on this chart, and as requested and hoped for by one of our viewers in the chat. So thank you for that suggestion. I think this is absolutely the Goblin Gargle, and if you're following up something as sweet as the Goblin Guzzle, then maybe you just want to pour this all back and give it a swoosh just to clear some of the sugar out of your mouth. I think that's the perfect name and the perfect pairing. The Goblin Guzzle and the Goblin Gargle. So the last thing we have to do for today's episode is decide what kind of adventure these cocktails go into. And I think it's clear from the title of the drink that these are going to be goblin community drinks. These are the sorts of things that you're drinking in a goblin society, or at least a society that is near to a lot of goblins and has a lot of exposure to goblins. You don't usually think of goblins as being cocktail people, which I'm especially excited about because I love a good extrapolation on a trope. Coffee with a zap of soda water is a thing in Australia. That makes sense. That makes sense. I buy that. Fancy goblins. Yeah, well, okay, so I think that the goblins in question must be goblins who have gotten into mixing things in another context. There's a good like goblin trap making tradition that happens in a lot of settings, and I really find that exciting. I like the idea of goblin artisans. So perhaps we have a goblin artisan community that has gotten into making potions or alchemical mixtures. Goblin grenadiers, as suggested by Jellygato in our live taping. I think that that's absolutely it. Yeah, the goblins make these alchemical mixtures, these explosive mixtures, or reagents that, you know, maybe they don't explode, but they, you know, turn into acid, or they mix badly with water, or they create lots of steam. And as a result, they've gained this like chemical wealth of knowledge that extends to the things that they eat and drink. And I think that the one thing that I really like about goblins that I think is useful in a lot of contexts is this idea that they are very sensory focused. Goblins like to gobble things up right away. They like to experience things in the moment, and they like to devour. I recently read somebody's like self-help meme that was I will devour all of the nice things in my life, because if you, and the follow-up was like, if you don't drink the nice wine, it turns to vinegar. If you don't eat off the plates, then who will? You know, that sort of thing. And so the idea of enjoying things in the moment, I think, is a very goblin trait. And a positive goblin trait, that they have this appreciation for consuming their fine things in the moment. So I like the idea that this goblin society of grenadiers and alchemists has developed this cocktail culture as well. And so they are mixing reagents not just for their defense and market purposes, but also for enjoyment. And it also implies a peaceful, or at least reasonably peaceful, goblin society that has the opportunity to have that leisure time, which I'm also really excited by, because I feel like goblins don't get that often enough in popular fantasy. So, all that being covered, I think that we have created some really interesting cocktails, some interesting cocktail lore, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all the things YouTubers tell you to do, and until next time, guzzle adventurously.